Hello and welcome to Read by Red. I'm Red, and today I'll be reading some r/regular revenge. 'Cause revenge is always good. Let's just get into the stories. Manipulate me into buying gifts for your children? Enjoy getting what you deserve. This slow burn starts a full year and a half before my plan came into effect. Earlier in the year, my dad quite sensibly suggested that with the size of our family Christmas party, we skip a generation with gifts to ease the financial strain as the extended family grew. At the time, I was struggling with my business and athletic career, and my wife, then girlfriend, was working on her second master's degree, so I suggested names from a hat, but he wanted to spoil all his grandchildren. I said fair enough, I'll chip in for Omar's cruise and buy gifts for my step-siblings, but don't expect anything grand. My stepbrother's daughter has brought a Nintendo DS, and all the kids are struggling to play it together, so I foolishly offer to loan them mine to lighten the load. My stepbrother's daughter agrees to share with my stepsister's daughter, and my stepbrother's son agrees to share with my stepsister's son. Having stupidly deprived myself of my means to escape social obligations, I go to the living room to acquire that much older cure for not wanting to deal with other people: alcohol. Not even having had time to pour a dram, my trained ear picks up from the kids' room the unmistakable sound of one human being pummeling another. I politely suggest to stepbro that he might want to go and have a look. But bro hasn't given two craps about anything in about 7 years, so he waves it off and I go to investigate. Walk in to see that my stepbro's son may be a butthole, but is not untalented, and is managing to strike and shove into a wall and kick my stepsister's son, all at the same time, while attempting to play my DS with his other hand. Having decided his turn began the moment I left the room. My stepsister's daughter has simply wrestled the DS from my stepbrother's daughter, who is now sitting in the corner crying. My stepsister's daughter has simply wrestled the DS from my stepbrother's daughter, who is now sitting in the corner crying. I shout for my stepsis, informing her that if she doesn't get in here to break things up before I count to 10, I would have a stern conversation with them. She turns up and separates the kids, and I retrieve my DS. Instead of giving her son a lesson in sharing and not hitting people, she proceeds to berate my stepbro's son, the kid who was beaten, for not simply giving the DS to her little piece of crap and making her son look bad. My stepsister's daughter simply lets out a teenage sigh for the ages and tosses the other DS back to her crying cousin. I then excuse myself from the party, thanking whatever gods may be that I don't have to provide gifts for any of those little children. 6 months later, my firm belief in atheism is confirmed, as bro calls me, and this is the conversation. Hey OP, while I really appreciated the gifts last year, you should really get something for the kids this year instead. Christmas is all about the children after all. No, I turn up to chat with you and Dad and Omar. I really don't give two craps about the kids. That's a mean thing to say about my kids. Don't you care about them? You cared about them so much at the last party you couldn't be bothered to break up a fight where your son was beaten bloody. Our nephew is a good kid. Stepsis just said he had a bad day. He was literally beating your child. You didn't put pics on social media for a week because of the bruises. If our stepsister's kid was an adult and had that kind of bad day, I'd have had a stern conversation with him and convinced him to peacefully lay on the floor until the police arrived. Well, stepsis and I were talking, and we think you should buy stuff for the kids next year instead of us. Well, I'm happy not to buy you anything, but I'm not getting crap for the stepsister's spawn, especially when she encourages that behaviour. Well, if you aren't going to get something for all the kids, you shouldn't get anything at all. It's not right if you don't treat them equally. Done. Now, I'm sure they wish it had been this simple, but unfortunately it wasn't. I certainly wouldn't have written such a long-winded story if that were the payoff. Thanks for bearing with me so far. We're almost at the end. A few months later, about 2 weeks before Christmas, I get an email from my dad with links to various toys. Mostly from Toys R Us. I call him back to ask what this is all about. Hey, what's up? I got your email. What's that all about? Those are the gifts for your nieces and nephews for Christmas. That's cool if you're getting them that. I'll see them when the kids open them. No, that's for you to get them. I don't buy for that generation, remember? I already sent you my contribution to Omar's cruise. You need to get stuff for the kids. Don't you want them to look up to you as an uncle? Not really. Also, what part of my life suggests to you that they ought to look up to me as any sort of role model? You'd be better off telling them to grow up to be rock stars. Not the point. Christmas is about the children. If you don't get them this stuff, I won't put your name on the card for Omar. That's a crappy thing to do, considering I already paid into that. Will you get the stuff or not? Well, I guess my name isn't going on the card then. This will cost me more than a month's rent. So you can take this list and grease it up real nice. Calm your jests. This is what they want. I'll get them a token something, but I'm not taking out a loan. Fine, just make it something they'll enjoy. If what I get doesn't put a giant smile on each and every one of their faces, I'll buy you a dinner at a steakhouse of your choosing. That's the spirit. Talk to you later. So Christmas rolls around, and my wife and I have bought not just one, but 4 gifts for each of the little ones, and wrapped them all beautifully. My dad correctly assumes it's all probably from the dollar store, but it's nicely wrapped and he gives me a look of approval as I place it under the tree. My wife and I schmooze for a bit and then suggest that since we brought several gifts for each of the kids, why don't they open one each before dinner so they have something to do while they wait? Their parents of course agree, as it gives them more of a reason to ignore their kids and talk about them instead. So they send us off to hand out gifts to their kids. Stepsis is looking especially smug. As they begin to unwrap them, I prepare the camera as my wife goes for our coats, and I stick around just long enough to immortalize on film the big crap-eating grin on each of the kids' faces as they see what their gift is. Less than 1 minute later, the first blast from the air horn can be heard in the hallway, clearly by my wife and I as we make our way to the elevator. I have no idea how much of the bulk pack of silly string or the 36 rainbow pack of off-brand Sharpies ended up on the walls, but I do know they repainted the place next month. Whether or not the pile of slap-on bracelets ended up on wrists and legs of the parents as they tried to contain the other 3 will be left to the imagination, but I like to think they all ended up in the height of 80s fashion before Boxing Day. I may never know if they opened the rest of their presents. Everyone got a copy of each other's gifts. You know, for fairness, plus a bunch of gross and mildly inappropriate temporary tattoos. In the confusion, none of them noticed either me or my wife leaving. I'm certain at some point they did notice the pretty gold envelope addressed to the parents on the tree. Inside was a very pretty card, blank but for the following note. This was a warning shot from off the top of my head. I've got a whole year to get creative for next time. Merry Christmas. I never bought anyone steak dinner. However, I enjoyed several more Christmases with my Omar and Dad until they passed, and I stopped seeing that side of the family at all. No mention of this incident or gifts to the kids was ever made again. Yes, as a parent, if you gave my children that, I would definitely ask you not to give any more gifts to my children. Any toys that make noise, especially. Oh God, they're so annoying. Because kids just obsess over those. My kids are still young enough that I can manage to take things away and hide them. But there's always that period of time when they first get them that it's like, no! So I have to say, this is a brilliant revenge on the parents. Like, really, anyone who wants to take revenge on parents, this is perfect. I hope you guys loved that r/RegularRevenge story. Read by me, Red. Please give the video a like, and don't forget to subscribe. Okay, thanks.